Good morning, everyone. This is Game Mechanics Podcast. This is Co-Pilot, joined by Screwtape Games, aka Nate, aka
Hello.
Flynn, and Ike,
Hi, that's me.
who's this guy over here. And today, we're going to start by talking about the absolute gall of people who walk diagonally across parking lots.
Oh, God,
parking lots.
I hate that.
No, not as bad as when a car cuts across the parking lot and you're trying
Also
to back
true.
out of a space and then they just zoom, like you look both ways, they zoom from behind. You're like, I could have hit you. What the hell?
Or people who park across the lines in spots. I had that earlier today, and the dude glared at me for trying to squeeze in next to him. I was like, bro. Anyway, that is not actually the point of today's podcast. Today, we're going to start off with some hot button gaming news with Helldivers 2 and the absolute, probably single biggest unforced error in a significant amount of time.
Yes.
And for anyone who is not kept up on that, what happened basically was that at launch, when Helldivers launched 6 months ago, they had a way where you would link your PlayStation account with your Steam account, but you could skip that because it was apparently breaking stuff. So 6 months goes by, and then they decide, oh, hey, snap, this is mandatory now. You have to link a PlayStation account
JK lol.
in order to play our game. Well, that wipes out 177 countries from being able to play the game.
People that
And
had
not
already
only-
bought it, some of them.
People who had already bought it all across the world can no longer play the game that they paid for. But hey, PlayStation memberships in 69 other countries, or however many, 67, or the fun number. Maybe there's more PlayStation members now, but hey, but then there are also hundreds of thousands of negative reviews. It's getting slammed
Mm-hmm.
in the Steam reviews for it.
However, I was just looking at the Steam stats and the player count.
Yeah,
They only have 10,000 less people playing now than they did yesterday or the day
it's
before.
absolutely wild to think about. And I've seen people posting that of like, oh, it's not a big loss that
Yeah.
they've completely screwed over people in the entire rest of the world, because here people in the West, we can still play Helldivers and we're the majority of it. It's like, that's not the point.
No, it's not.
It's the point. It's a terrible business decision. And yeah, the majority of players, and this is the thing that I think about with a lot of gaming controversies, is the majority of players aren't on social media, which is
True.
why Halo Infinite still has a player base.
Especially
about-
after, well, we could talk about Halo and community managers if you want. You want to get into that too?
We could. My goodness. So that was another thing to do with Helldivers, is their community managers are atrocious. I don't want to say they're the worst community management team in gaming, but they're pretty far up there.
Well, out of all of the groups that have to deal with gaming, I think community managers are probably some of the most toxic. However, they're probably the most public facing, so you see them more often.
Exactly, which is why it's so bewildering to me that those are the people that get hired for community management. It's like I years ago now at this point, 3 years, when Halo Infinite launched, I went on a lot of tirades about their community management because they went on a 1.5 month long vacation and left Big Team Battle broken over the holidays.
Yep.
And then Unishet came back and was like, oh, I guess, like, and he did a poll on then Twitter, now X, and was like, are game devs allowed to take vacations? It's like, it's not the point that you took a vacation. It's that you took a vacation, left your game broken over the holidays when people want to play it.
Yep. And what we mentioned with the Helldivers situation here, the community management was just atrocious, especially on their Discord. There was one specific community manager. I'm not going to mention any names, mainly because I can't remember them right now, and it's not even that important.
That's likely.
One of the community managers was saying, "Well, I thought you said you were going to." They basically, I'm summing this up. They said, "I thought you were going to refund it and then leave. Don't let the door hit you on the way out." Was
Basically,
like the
yeah.
summation of what they said.
The tone of it.
Like,
It's because somebody was explaining that they're going to lose a lot of their player base because of this, and they're losing a lot of the goodwill that they've built up over the past 6 months by being a like community-facing game and communicating really well, but then suddenly not communicating anymore. And it's like, hey, you're this is gonna hurt your player base, and they're like, oh yeah, I thought you were refunding and leaving. Like,
Yeah.
okay, well, cool. I'm gonna refund and leave. Okay, thanks, bye.
Like just the amount of like antagonistic vitriol that comes out of some community managers is just astounding. And the
I
fact
don't
that
know
these
if
people
it's most
don't lose
community
their
managers, but it's
jobs.
many of them. Yeah.
Did you watch that video I sent you a minute right before we went live, Nate?
Which one?
It was one from it was a tweet from at Casey Ike 21. Okay, so essentially what the video is that somebody on Twitter was contacting somebody from Ukraine was contacting Helldivers support through Twitter. And I think it might have been PSN though. And they said, I can't create a PSN account because I'm in Ukraine, and you can't create a PSN account. They essentially stated you have to own a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 to be able to create an account to be able to play Helldivers. So they essentially are locking people out in Ukraine that don't own Playstations, period.
Yeah.
So there's a $500 or more, $500 or more like barrier.
Yeah, it's like that in a lot of places around the world, I think, where you can't make a PlayStation account like on a computer, but you can make one on a PlayStation 5 if you have one. But
or you have access to one.
Or you have access to one, but it's $550 US. Like minimum for one of those things,
and
unless by some miracle they go on sale. But then you think about that compared to a lot of other countries that are not rich countries like the United States. Like I saw someone's comment, they were living, I think they said Madagascar, or but it's one of those smaller countries. And he's like, hey, this game effectively when I bought it is like a third of my salary. Because we're not a rich country down here, and now I've spent that much money on a game, and I can't play it. And if the game itself is a third of this man's salary, there's no way in hell he's getting a PS5.
Yeah, because the game's dirt cheap compared to a PS5.
Yeah, like $30-$40 game, and then $550 console, so it's less than a tenth of the cost of the console to just get the game.
He also purchased it on the PC, so that means like he can buy the PlayStation, and then he might as well buy the game on the PlayStation as well.
Right.
Like, what's the point? But there's also the requirements to create an account in the UK where it requires a government photo ID or a face scan.
Right. God,
or whatever. Like some dystopian bullshit.
Even worse.
It's Orwellian, man, when you think about it that way.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about all of this was PlayStation had the gall to say it was for security purposes. It's for security reasons.
Yeah.
None of my information has ever leaked from Steam, ever. I'm pretty sure PlayStation in the last 3 years has had 5 different leaks.
I saw a list. Yeah, it's at least 5. And I saw a list of like going back a decade of all the major security breaches that Sony has had. And it was like when they made, because PlayStation Plus used to be free. On PlayStation 3, it was free. And it compared to Xbox Live, which cost money. But then when you thought about the Xbox Live, it's because it was a better service. It was more secure than Sony. And so you had that sort of trade-off there of like, yeah, PlayStation Plus is free. Xbox Live is more secure and better. And then PlayStation started charging for it, and they're like, yeah, it's more secure and better, so we can charge for it too. And it hasn't been. There's been so many security breaches. And to add on top of this layer of, oh, it's for security, you have the mods, the community managers who are apparently, side note, the Discord moderators, the community managers for Helldivers were the Reddit mods from the first game.
Yes.
So that explains a lot of how they act.
Reddit.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing about this too is one of the moderators that they have on their Discord is actively lying about Grums on there about
Mark Kern.
how he like is a sexual harasser or something. And they like that is something like even if you believe that wholeheartedly, that's not something you as an active participant in promoting this game should be saying on your Discord.
Right. Exactly.
Rein these people in.
But what I was tying back into the way that connects with the Sony security concerns and we do this so it can be more secure is when this bombshell first dropped, at least one of the community managers was like, yeah, we're doing this so we can ban people easier. It's like, why is that your goal? To be able to ban people easier? And for what?
The toxic person wants more power? I wonder.
Yeah, shiny.
Let's take a look at their profiles here real quick. Let's see what they have all in common. I'm not even going to mention the rest of that.
Yeah. We're gonna keep generally politics free as possible, but if you do by chance look at the community managers for Arrowhead games, you'll notice a pattern in how they interact with the world.
Yep.
But God, it's just it started off as this, and then this after Sony's previously latest blunder with Stellar Blade, which is a game that I haven't picked up. I can't because I don't have a PS5.
Same.
But the controversy there was about a week before launch, maybe even less than a week before launch. The Stellar Blade developers, what are they called? Shift Up, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's it.
They said Stellar Blade is not going to be censored at all anywhere. Everywhere around the world is going to have the same version of the game. And then it launches, and some of the outfits in the game have been altered from what they originally looked like in like the pre-release versions of the game. They're less revealing now, things like that. So obviously Sony decided that they were going to have to have these censored or altered in some way. And it's like it's a little thing in the grand scheme of things, but it goes to that consumer friendly or I should say consumer antagonistic way that Sony seems to do things now, where it's like you promise one thing and then you do another thing. It's like you can get Helldivers 2 and play it in countries around the world. Oh, just kidding, you have to have a PlayStation Network, and screw you if you can't get one because you're not in the West. And you have Stellar Blade, which is, hey, we're not going to censor this. Oh, just kidding, Sony made us censor it. And it's Sony hates their consumers. It's wild.
Total Biscuit did not die for this. Come on, people.
You make him out like he's the gaming messiah.
He is. He is the consumer advocate messiah. He really is. Like, if he were around today, he would be preaching along with these other people about against these anti-consumer practices of Sony, of Nintendo specifically. He'd probably be going on about Nintendo DMCAing everybody under the sun.
Yeah.
And like all that stuff about Nintendo taking things off of the Steam marketplace or whatever for Gary's Mod bullshit they've been doing.
I haven't even heard about that one.
Oh yeah, well
I heard about
they dropped a DMCA on Gary's Mod, and Gary from Gary's Mod had to make a post about it, saying, "Hey guys, if you could help me out and remove anything Nintendo related from the Steam Workshop, it'd be a huge help because we need to remove everything." And there's probably hundreds of thousands of mods on there that are probably being affected right now.
Here's how little I've interacted with Gary's Mod ever. I didn't know it was an actual guy named Gary. That was
Bob. There was they also recently gave a DMCA cease and desist to GitHub to remove versions of that emulator that they just sued. because there were people
true.
that forked it and stuff, and
It was
so
a
people keep cloning it and
emulator,
putting
yeah.
it up there. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Nintendo.
I can't either, but yeah, it was a Switch emulator, which is
Yep.
That part I understand. I understand getting rid of a Switch emulator and taking that down because it's a console that you're actively working on and developing for. And I remember on the Switch emulator note, there was a streamer. It might have been OnePeg, it might have been somebody else, who was going to stream Tears of the Kingdom on the emulator. But to sort of try and justify that, they're like, I bought the game on Switch. I own the game on Switch. I'm going to play through the game on Switch, but I'm going to stream it on this emulator because frame rates and resolution and all that stuff like that. But for every OnePeg who bought the game and then played it on an emulator for the better version, there's however many people who were just going to be like, oh, I can just emulate this game and not have to pay for it.
Let me just go get my eye patch real quick. Ugh.
Right?
There was a thing that Nintendo did during COVID. There was this group that was putting together an online Smash Brothers tournament, and they were using an emulated version of the game, and Nintendo sent them a cease and desist.
I think it was the GameCube version.
Yeah, it was an older version. But yeah, Nintendo's like discontinuing a bunch of their consoles and like the online store on a bunch of consoles. They should allow emulation on that because some of those games aren't going to exist in 10 years because they're just the software and the hardware just isn't going to be available anymore to play them.
A lot of games just went out of existence recently for the 3DS. And there is a plethora of indie games that were released specifically on the 3DS on the game store that you can't play anymore. Get them anywhere but through there. So the only legal way to, air quotes, legal way to do that is if you had already bought it and downloaded it before they discontinued it, and it has to be installed on your DS.
Yeah. Which is crazy to think about.
Yep.
That's why I like archive.org. I go on there and play Oregon Trail all the time.
God, I think about Oregon Trail sometimes, and then I'm like, I remember playing that in elementary school on the computers. I should play that again, and then I think, nah.
It's fun.
A friend of mine got me one of those handheld ones that you can get at like Target. It's like that big.
I have one as well. The video game historian just released a really good video about the history of the Oregon Trail. You should definitely check that out.
It was really good.
It's very nostalgic, and it like the way that they kind of accidentally stumbled into creating one of the greatest video games of all time it was just one coincidence after another. Oh yeah, hey, my roommate is a teacher that teaches things, and he wants to do this kind of board game thing. But I also work on these computers, so I'm going to make this thing for him over the weekend in this text editor real quick. And he just made the video game, and everybody loved it, and it just kind of took off from there.
The other part about it, though, is why everybody remembers it is because at one point it was in a software package with a bunch of other educational software that school districts would pay like a licensing fee once a year to be able to have access to like hundreds of games. And that was probably the best game that was involved in that. In fact, during the thing, they talk about it, which was kind of funny, where they were like, they removed Oregon Trail from the list, and all these school districts were like, why the heck did you do that? Like that was the best. That's the only reason we bought this.
Well, that's why they took it off of there, so they could sell it separately. Yeah. And then everyone complained, so they put it back. And so, if you want to talk about anti-consumer practices, that's a big one. It's like, yeah, you can license all of our software except for our popular one. It's over here. You got to pay extra for that.
Into the next thing on our list, which Nate wrote down as whatever Battle State Games did.
Yes.
I don't even know what that
is. So Battle State Games, for those who don't know, is the developers of the game Escape from Tarkov. They're a Russian-based company. They're making Escape from Tarkov. Great game, effectively. Still in like the early beta alpha. I don't remember if they're calling it an alpha still or if it's a beta. Either way, pre-release version that they charge $40 to $80, whichever version that you're getting. Now the $80 one is called the Edge of Darkness version, the EOD, which also stands for Extra Ordnance Disposal. which is just a nice little play that they did there. But Edge of Darkness version was previously sold as you pay this thing $80, you get however many extra things in game, but you also get access to all future DLC for free. It's included in the $80, I should say. Well, right before and at the same time around Sony botching the Stellar Blade thing, Battlestate Games was like, here's this new edition of the game called the Unheard Edition that's going to cost $240 US, and this will have PvE Tarkov, which is like persistent, no wipes. It's just you against AI, and you can go in, you can do your raids, and you're going to be able to do all that single player, effectively. Single player or with friends.
I think it was single player offline, too, is what they said.
Yeah, a single player offline. They did not include this as, or they then tried to say, like, this isn't DLC. Like, the single player Tarkov isn't DLC, even though it's a brand new thing that you have to download to be able to use. They're like, oh, it's not downloadable content. They started saying that, and then when they got called out on that BS and community noted a bunch of times on X, formerly Twitter, they went back to their website and edited it so the Edge of Darkness version didn't say includes access to all future DLC.
They tried to memory hole that.
But the internet's forever.
Yep.
And people have screenshots, just the same as like Sony with the Helldivers thing, because it was like Tarkov did their thing, and then Sony was like, hold my beer, and pulled their crap with Helldivers. Now there was an FAQ on either the Helldivers website or Sony somewhere regarding Helldivers that was like, do I need a PlayStation account to play Helldivers on Steam? And the answer on the FAQ was no. And they went back and changed that.
That was May 2nd that it said that.
Yeah.
And then May 3rd,
and
it
then
says
May
yes.
3rd, it changed. Yes, you do.
But to be fair to them, on the Steam page, it did say a third-party account is required for access. But there are lots of other games that do say things like that. But they really should have made it apparent that this was going to change at some point. Like if you skipped, it needed to have a pop-up that says we will eventually require this, and then maybe last month, a month ago, it should have come up saying coming soon. You have to have a PlayStation account. Ease people into it. It would have been a lot better. It's still not great.
If they had done that, but also not sold the game in countries where PSN isn't possible.
That should have been from the start too.
There would have been no controversy whatsoever. Game would have blown up, would have been huge in all the countries that could have played it. And then they'd be like, okay, so we fixed the server issues that happened at launch. We are going to start requiring a PlayStation Network account like we originally planned to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to start at this date. As opposed to all of a sudden, J.K. Lamau, get a PlayStation account.
I've got the exact verbiage here. It says, from the frequently asked questions, do I have to sign into PSN to play a PlayStation game on PC? Signing in to PSN is optional when playing a PlayStation game on PC. And now, fast forward to this last week, do I have to sign into PSN to play a PlayStation game on PC? Some PlayStation games may require you to sign in and link to an account for PSN. That was the exact verbiage. I may have botched it a little bit because I'm terrible at reading.
That's okay. It got it across, and that change is very clear. It was like, do I have to do this? No, it's optional. Do I have to do this? Sometimes. Sometimes, and one very specific time right now.
Yeah, so that's what they should have done. Like when they first started, was not if this was a thing that they had planned from the beginning, they should have made it blatantly obvious that they were going to do this. But I think it was an option, a thing that they thought about after the fact, which means that they just over a ton of people.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, no, you're good. Well, I think I've kept it clean on the swearing, and Nate's good about.
I'm trying.
Bleeping things in post. And
I'm very good at that.
Ike's been having coffee, quote unquote. So
I think I've said more expletives on this than Ike has so far.
Hold on, I'm gonna pour another coffee here, guys.
Yeah, it's just so. Well, and the other thing about this is they've known since the beginning that they were going to have to start doing this, and they didn't prep their social
They
media
did,
team at all.
yeah,
Like
they
the
didn't prep
community
their community
management,
team.
they just let them do their own thing, which was not the right thing. And
Yeah,
like
no.
they should have prepped them with some responses. Like, here's what's going to happen. People are going to say these things. Here's how you respond to this. So rather than letting them say whatever the heck they want, however they want,
Which is never good. You need some for community management. You need some kind of script effectively to stick to. I mean, they're just marketing people anyway. All they know is scripts.
Yep.
They're probably straight out of college too.
There's a
so
lot
they
of them.
no
They might even,
clue.
some of them might even still be in college. But I mean,
Yeah.
like traditionally, the community management role, and for example, 343 and other bigger companies, not necessarily the smaller indie companies, but the big ones, the Microsofts of the world, the 343s, their community team is largely people who went into marketing and are now just paid to talk to people for a living, which is an incredibly cushy gig that they all take for granted.
Well, and since you mentioned 343, we could talk about the blunder that they had for their community
So,
manager.
yeah.
You remember that one?
There's a few of them. You have
Well,
to,
I'm specifically talking about the one where their servers were down and people were asking for an update. What's going on? What's this update? And then the community manager responded, "Well, I'm sorry. I'm just watching the news and watching a country invade another
oh
country,
yeah,
and
that's
I'm
right.
worried
So
that my son's gonna have to be drafted into the army." It's like,
You have
yeah,
a
what?
that
job.
was he doesn't
People want
he's not even on social media anymore. That
people
was
want to play these
Postums back,
games to get out of that kind of stuff.
right.
Like,
Uh,
don't bring it into it.
so I've tweeted back and forth a lot, not a lot, but at least a little bit with the group that was Team Respawn. They're a content group on YouTube that does a lot of Halo Wars 2 stuff. Good bunch of guys. But they had tweeted at Postums, who was the community manager for the Halo Wars 2 side of things at the time, to say, hey, your game's been down for a couple of days, like, and we haven't had any update. There's nothing from Halo support, nothing from community management on why the game is currently down and completely unplayable. And then, yeah, Postums replied to him and was like, sorry, friend, I was so worried about Russia invading Ukraine and having to raise my son in a war-torn world. It's like, you live in Seattle. You're on the opposite side of the planet. You're gonna be fine. Plus, the other thing that a lot of people don't know was that Postums earlier that same day was on his alt Twitter account, which was all about crypto, and he was complaining about how Russia invading Ukraine was going to affect his crypto portfolio. Nothing about worrying about his son, nothing about worrying about a war-torn world. He's just completely decrying how it's going to affect his crypto portio. And he's
Air
gonna
quotes, his son is his NFTs.
yeah.
This is my son.
Yeah. You know, how am I going to raise my crypto in a war-torn world?
Is this my son? He has the crypto, the Bitcoin.
Bitcoin logo.
No, it'd probably be Dogecoin.
Right. Oh my lord. But yeah, so that was huge there. And he didn't even, here's the other thing. Community managers, I've never known a community manager to get fired. Postums pulls that blunder and doesn't get fired from community management. He gets laterally transferred to production. He's a producer now, or at least he was.
Jeez.
So you completely botch your job and you become a producer at one of these companies.
Did you see?
And it's freaking terrible.
Did you see that hard drive article I posted earlier?
I saw that.
The one that says community manager fired is now just a regular.
Yeah, just goes back to being a toxic person in the community.
A regular toxic member of the community.
Man, that's so true though. And freaking, and then you get people like Unishek who there's stuff that I say about Unishek that I'm not going to on here because then we'd get in trouble. But
it's
he
really...
has this. It drives me crazy about Unishek, and I will say this: he has this shit-eating grin all the time, and it drives me crazy because he's like, he makes me think of, I don't know if you guys ever listened to the Welcome to Night Vale podcast. This is like a 10 years ago callback.
Heard of it, yeah.
I know of it.
But they had a bit where there was like Night Vale, and then there was like a sister town in another dimension, and the other dimension was like all happy and smiley and like spookily so, creepily so. And he makes me think of that because it's not a real smile. It's a con man smile that Unity has on his face all the time. And it just grinds something in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy because he's the one that was like, oh, I guess game companies can't take vacation.
Are you saying he reminds you of Harold Hill from The Music Man?
I have not seen The Music Man, but I'll say actually, Music Man. So long ago.
Just think of a greasy used car salesman that does anything to make a sale.
Yeah, he's kind of like that.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that bothers me about community managers is the number of times that people have dug into the past like tweets of these people and have found nothing but contempt for gamers at large, and they'll use the capital G gamer,
right,
and as a pejorative.
Well, you get people like that, and then you get the marketing people like Unishek who are just used car salesmen, and then he's not on the community. Actually, might be on the community team. There's another person at 343 who goes by Haruspus. I think his name is Alex Wakeford, but I could be wrong. But his handle is Haruspus, and he wrote I don't believe this has ever been disproven. He previously wrote that the Halo 2 story was like somebody's rape fantasy because of how Tartarus manhandled Miranda Keys. Yeah, I know. And now he's the community writer for 343.
Isn't all of this kind of the basis of what Gamergate 1.0 was? A lot of toxic people that have disdain for the community and for the product weaseled their way into the community and started saying, hey, you guys are going to listen to us, and if you don't listen to us, you're the worst things in the world.
Yeah, basically.
Effectively, yeah. And now
I don't want to get political, but yeah.
Right, yeah. it's a lot of that. And freaking what's funny is I think it's who is it? I don't remember if it's Sarkeesian or some other person who was like really involved with Gamergate is now like kind of turning around.
Oh no, I know who you're talking about.
Zoe Quinn.
Yeah.
No, not Zoe Quinn. No, it's not Zoe Quinn. It's Brianna Wu.
Oh no, yeah, you're right.
You're talking about Brianna Wu.
I'm thinking Brianna Wu. Yeah. Not Zoe Quinn.
There was a few podcasts. I think she went onto the Quartering.
She's been on Adam and Sitch. She goes on Adam and Sitch.
Oh yeah, that's the one. That's the one I was thinking of. That's the one I was thinking.
Probably talked about it on the Quartering, but yeah.
Yeah, but like there's a lot of like I want to say right wing, but like centrist people that have now reached out to her and talked to her. Like Short Fat Otaku was one of her biggest like detractors during Gamergate, and they're actually good friends now. So
yeah, that's wild.
She's come around, and it's interesting to watch. When you
go too far off the rails for Brianna Wu, you've done something wrong.
Brianna, throw rocks from the moon to kill people. Woo,
right?
Wait, is that a real thing?
Yes, that's a real thing that she was talking about, throwing rocks from the moon to kill people.
Yeah.
I'm going to pretend I didn't hear.
I know. That's a laugh for another time. It's just so ridiculous. It's like, what if you just dropped a rock from the moon and it hit the ground at such a velocity? It's like, no, that's not how the moon works.
Not to go off just on a slight tangent. The first time I ever heard about Gamergate, Nate and I were walking from the Penny Arcade Expo down Pike Street, and he's like, "You know who's here?" And I'm like, "No, who's here?" And he's like, "I can't remember who it was."
It was Zoe Quinn.
Who the hell? I'm like, "Who the hell's that?" And he's like, "Wait, you don't know what Gamergate is?" I'm like, "Oh, Jesus Christ."
No, remember they used us as protection for Zoe Quinn. They used us as enforcers, as protection for her because she was going to participate in the Royal Rumble.
The PAX Rumble.
Yes, the PAX Rumble, which was a fun event. That was a lot of fun. Do you know of the PAX Rumble, Co-Pilot?
I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Okay. Because Ike and I are buying copies of WrestleMania for Nintendo 64. We're going to get a bunch of people together and do our own Royal Rumble.
Oh hell yeah!
If you want to
we're gonna play it up.
participate
It's
in
gonna be
that,
awesome.
it's going to be local. So we've got a few
Sure.
people. We've even got a few people that I think Big Angry Phil might show up. We'll have to talk to him about that.
Yeah, he's got his own. He's got his own channel. He's great commentator. He does video games occasionally.
Well, he plays
Big Angry Phil.
Classic video games. Like I have a copy of The Lion King for Super Nintendo signed by him that he played through and beat.
Oh, that's cool.
No, he didn't beat it. No, he didn't
beat it.
He got halfway through the I just can't wait to be king level. Got mad, tore it out of his Super Nintendo and put a different game in.
And now I own it.
Second level. Oh my god! When I was a kid, I played that game, and I think the closest I ever got to beating it, I was like in 4th or 5th grade. Might have been 6th, but it was in that range. And I got to the last mission, and you have to fight Scar like 3 separate times. And there's a move that the instruction booklet doesn't tell you how to do, where you can just yeet him off a cliff. I think that's the goal. And yeah, you see Ike showing the cartridge up there. That was for Sega. But I couldn't do it. I think you had to like position him and then yeet him off the cliff, because no matter how much you smack him, he doesn't die. There's not like you get his health down. And that's the very last part of the game, and I could not beat that. And then I tried it probably, I'm trying to remember, like 7 years ago now. I tried it again, and I could not get that far. It's a hard game, and I'm like, am I old? Are my reflexes bad? What's going on?
Hey, Ike, show them what you use to assist with that. You have it there, don't you? There it is.
Game Genie.
I put in the you put in the unlimited lives, lives code. Boom. It's not a cakewalk. I still got angry. It's on my channel somewhere. It was terrible. And I still only made it to the elephant graveyard level.
Oh my god!
That stream was 2 hours, 2.5 hours too, and I made it to the elephant graveyard level, and I'm not happy about it.
Oh, I should do a stream of this game now, man. That'd be wild.
I just recently bought one of the Super Nintendo minis, the classic minis, and I just sideloaded a bunch of games onto it. That was included in there. And I also have the best multiplayer game for the Super Nintendo, which is the Goof Troop game.
Yes. Oh my god.
That's one of the best multiplayer games for the Super Nintendo. It's so good.
I talk to Nicole about that periodically, about the Goof Troop game. It's
Anyone
so great.
Anyone that will listen to me. Hey, come over here. Let's talk about Goof Troop for a little bit.
No, what's that?
So good. Huh?
What's that one joke? What's that one joke? How do you find a vegan at a party? You don't. They find you. How do you find Nate that wants to talk to you about Goof Troop at a party? You don't. He finds you.
No, I
think we got off in the weeds here. What were we talking about?
I don't care. I like this discussion. I'm going to put that meme up there with the guy at the party standing in the corner that says, "I really like Goof Troop for Super Nintendo. It's the best multiplayer game." And then everyone else is going to be like, "We know."
Yeah. It's like, oh my god. Oh, such a good game. Games aren't the same.
All right, since it's been a little while since we've done an episode, Co-Pilot, what is the best game that you've played since the last time we've talked?
The best game that I've played since the last time we talked.
You say Helldivers, so help me.
I thought about it. There was, or I was like, maybe Helldivers. Oh my god, best game since then. That's a tough one. I'm trying to remember when I played Elden Ring, and if I played it between the last time we did a podcast and now. Probably Tears of the Kingdom then.
Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom. Good choice.
I've been going through that recently. I'm almost done, man. I'm so close to done.
I would say Baldur's Gate 3 for me. That one, man. I haven't really gotten too far in it because I keep getting distracted. And then I'm like, ooh, I have a new build. I want to start a new character. I want to make it this way. I want to play it this way. Because I'll play through the game and I'll see other, like, you can visualize the other routes that other characters can take through the dialogue options. And I'm like, ooh, I just want to make a guy that just wants to kill everything and just make him really buff. And I'm like, I want to play him as like this idiot savant that just is just dumb.
It makes me think of so Viva La Dirt League has their RPG logic skits, and one of them is like it's comparing different playstyles effectively, where you've got Adam who's playing the Watcher, which is their version of the Witcher, and so he's looking at this dragon, and he's like taking a bunch of potions. He's like, it's daytime, I should take Daywalker potion. That like dragon looks like it could just rip him in half, and I need stone skin. And he's going through all this, and then Rowan, who's one of the other guys, walks up, and he's just got a big sword, and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm preparing to fight that dragon. What are those? Oh, those are my potions and oils. How do you plan to fight the dragon? He's like, oh, I just got a big sword, so I go up and I go like this, and then it stops breathing.
There was another thing about Baldur's Gate that was kind of funny, because during the pre-beta, like before it was fully released, they averaged the character creation, and they released an image of what the average character looks like.
Oh my god!
With the most choices, and it was a white guy. And the guy that posted it didn't say he was mad. He said he was disappointed.
I remember that. Yeah. Like, well, allow me to demonstrate the results of target demographics.
Yep. Oh, another thing about censorship. Ike, did you want to talk about what your favorite game is since the last time we talked?
I was gonna say I didn't.
Yeah,
you get a turn to. You get a turn to. But I was going to bring it back to the topic. But go ahead.
Like I don't want to answer that.
What? He was just recently playing at Dead of Night on his stream.
Oh no! The best game I've played since the last time you posted an episode is probably Helldivers 2. But if that's not a choice,
it's still a choice. It's still a
choice.
I'm gonna go with the current edition. They nerfed everybody in Phasmophobia, and you had to start from scratch. I've been playing that a lot lately, so I'm gonna go with Phasmophobia.
Okay,
that's a good game.
But about censorship, did you see what happened to the Tomb Raider release?
Yes, I did.
So there were posters that were up of so when Tomb Raider first came out, they sexualized Lara Croft to no end in publications and stuff. Yep. And like that was part of who the character was at that time. Like the developers absolutely hated, by the way, that the publishers were doing this. But in I think it was Tomb Raider 2, there's a scene where they have like approximations of those posters up in a locker room somewhere in the game, and then they released the re-releases where they upscaled a lot of the textures, and it's just like HD stuff, and they had those posters in there, and then they released a patch that got rid of them.
Yep.
But they're back. They put them back after people complained, so they're back now.
But the Lara Croft poster apparently has a signature on it that looks like it's signed by a Laura Cruz.
They should have had it signed by Angelina Jolie.
Yeah,
that would have been hilarious.
It would have been great. They should if they were going to add anything, they should have just done that. But yeah,
but I bought it and I was playing through it. It's good. It's a good remaster. They didn't change anything. They didn't remove anything. They did add a warning at the beginning saying this is a product of its time. No, that kind of bullshit.
Oh yeah, 20 years ago. So far.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that as long as they don't change anything with the source material. The Looney Tunes did the Looney Tunes Gold Collection for a while, and then when they released it. I think it was either Gold Collection 3 or 4. It might have been 3. They had Whoopi Goldberg, of all people, come out at the beginning of each disc before it got to the menu saying, these cartoons were a product of their time, and we're not censoring them to go for like sensibilities of this time. We're leaving them here for historical preservation.
It's interesting that they saved all the racist ones for one edition.
Honestly, Gold Collection 1 was the best one because it had all the best cartoons in it.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, you used to have those DVDs, didn't you, Ike?
I think there were some of the DVDs that got stolen with all of our video games.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. We had the clear green Nintendo 64 Donkey Kong 64 edition.
We
that
also
got
had
stolen.
a 64. We also had a copy of Conker's Bad Fur Day that got stolen too.
Yep.
Damn, dude.
I was mad about that. Although I still had the box, but I sold it to the Game Trader store down the street so I could get some Super Nintendo games. Because what was I going to do with it?
With that, he got me a copy of Echo the Dolphin.
I did.
Oh yeah.
I also
shoot.
I have some of the Sega clamshell boxes, and one of them I believe is the Lion King, so I have that too.
Nice.
And then there was 3 of them that I have. I think one's the Incredible Crash Dummies, and I can't remember what the other one is. Which I have the cartridge for that one in my storage unit as well.
Out of your copy, that copy of the Lion King is probably the one that went with that.
No. I think that one's Jerry's because I have a copy of the Lion King from the Sega as well.
But no, I think though. So the Game Genie's ours, and what was attached to the Game Genie was Aladdin.
Yeah.
And so I have a copy of Aladdin. That's our copy.
That's also
Aladdin's
a very
good game too.
They sell that as a 2-pack. I think it's a 3-pack now because on Steam you can buy it. It has Aladdin, Jungle Book, and The Lion King as a 3-pack on Steam, which is actually very interesting because they have a previously unreleased demo level that they featured at E3 to present the game.
Oh, cool!
If you buy it through Steam, you can play through that level. It's a version of the Friend Like Me level, but it's not in the game at all. So you can go back, you can go in and play that. They also have the Japanese ROM and I think one other version.
I have a dumb question really quick about buying that on Steam. If I buy it on Steam now, in about 6 months, are they going to require me to have a Disney Plus account to play
it? Probably.
Now, the interesting thing about those good games, so a lot of the Disney games that you remember as a kid, most of them were made by Capcom.
DuckTales.
And so there's also the Disney Afternoon Collection that you can get through Steam as well. That one has DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, DuckTales 2, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers 2, and Tailspin. So it's got 6 games. If you get it on sale, you can get it for like $5.
Wait, there was a Tailspin game?
There was a Tailspin game.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Okay. Not me looking this up on my on my side monitor right now.
On a quick side note here, when they did that live action, when they did that live action Jungle Book movie, I was really mad they didn't do a live action Tailspin movie or a Tailspin
at the same
TV
time.
Show. Great, man.
That would have been awesome, especially with Bill Murray as Baloo.
What I love about Tailspin is it was actually supposed to be a Porco Rosso TV show based on that Studio Ghibli movie about the pig that flies the airplane.
But they couldn't get the rights.
No,
so they
it wasn't necessarily that. That was part of it, but also I think it was Michael Eisner at the time was pushing for them to use some of the legacy characters, which is where Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers came from, because that was supposed to be a Rescuers, like Rescuers Down Under, a Rescuers TV show. So they put Chip and Dale in there. And then there was also Tailspin that they developed with the Jungle Book characters. Yeah. And then DuckTales was way before those 2 shows even.
DuckTales is amazing.
And then Darkwing Duck. Darkwing Duck was one of the greatest spin-off television shows ever. DuckTales is great, but Darkwing Duck is just a little bit better. And it's one of those where the spin-off is better than the original.
Kind of like Mork and Mindy versus Happy.
Yes, like Mork and Mindy versus Happy Days, because Mork was originally a side character, like a guest character on Happy Days, I believe.
Yeah.
And then they gave him his own show.
I think Laverne and Shirley were also a spinoff of Happy Days too.
Were they?
Probably.
I think. Don't quote me on that. I'm looking it up really quick.
Yep.
There's a couple other shows that actually spun off or did crossovers with Friends as well. I think what was the other one? Mad About You, I think was one that crossed over with Friends a little bit.
Yes.
We're thinking crossovers though. I still think that one of the best cartoon crossovers of all time is Scooby-Doo and Johnny Bravo.
Yes.
No, the Oh, go ahead, Ike.
Just to reiterate, just really quick, Laverne and Shirley is a spinoff of Happy Days.
Nice.
The best cartoon crossover is Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue.
Oh my god!
Have you seen this? You know what I'm talking about,
I have not. I have no idea.
The entire thing is on YouTube.
I'll find a link of it.
I love the beginning. They have Barbara Bush
and George H.W. Bush.
George Bush Sr. opening the video because Barbara Bush was pushing for anti-drug propaganda.
Oh, that's right.
And so the whole thing is these cartoon characters. So you got Alf, you have Slimer from the Ghostbusters, you have one of the Ninja Turtles,
one of the posters
you have a Smurf, you have
Garfield's
Chip
in it.
and
Garfield
Dale,
is in
Winnie
it.
the Pooh, Garfield.
The ducks from DuckTales. You got freaking Tigger's in there. Oh my lord!
I remember, Ike. We begged our mom to rent it from Blockbuster once. She did not want anything to do with it.
Our dad didn't want to do it because he knew what it was.
Yeah. Well, we convinced him to let us rent it, and we took it over and watched it. It was like a made-for-TV thing.
It's got some of the Muppet Babies in it too.
Yeah.
I love the tagline on the front: "Drugs don't stand a chance against these guys."
I remember we watched it for our other YouTube thing that we did where we made fun of things.
I'm wearing a shirt for that right now.
and we were watching it, and it was just so bad because there's like the kids, like, it's a marijuana thing, and the kids like smoking the pot, and the smoke becomes the bad guy trying to get him to do harder drugs.
It like destroys his life. And he's like hiding it. The little girl has to like debate whether or not he's gonna go tell her mom.
Breaking news. Breaking news. I just saw this post from Grums. He says, "We did it. You did it. PlayStation no longer requiring Steam and PSN linking." And he's quoting a post from PlayStation that says, "Helldivers fans, we've heard your feedback on the Helldivers 2 account linking update. The May 6 update, which would have required Steam and PlayStation Network account linking for new players and for current players beginning May 30th, will not be moving forward. We're still learning what is best for the PC players, and your feedback has been invaluable. Thanks again for your continued support of Helldivers 2, and we'll keep you updated for the future." Let's go.
Okay, editing note. Find that tweet. I'm looking at it right now. Post the GIF that's in that Grums tweet of the two guys chest bumping.
Yes, you heard it here. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first. They canceled the PlayStation
in about a week when it actually gets posted.
Oh no, I'm going to edit this tomorrow morning and upload it about noon tomorrow.
Oh my god, let's go.
Are we putting it on your channel, or is this going to be our first episode on the official Game Mechanics channel?
First, let's do it on the Game Mechanics channel.
Okay.
I was going to ask if you were talking to me, and I'm like, okay.
Why not? Just
it's not April Fool's anymore, but okay.
No.
That's good news. Holy
that is great.
Crap.
Yeah.
I think tomorrow, after I get my computer set up, I'll do this, edit it, and then I'm gonna put together a bunch of those video game trivia shorts that I wanna test out. I think we can get a lot of traction with those.
Oh yeah. The other thing I got to do is just because of that information, I haven't done it this entire thing, and I've been wanting to push it for a while. Would you like to know more?
I would. I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I did my part. I canceled my PSN.
Well, now you can resubscribe.
And now I can uncancel it. Yeah, now I can play Street Fighter again.
The interesting thing is, every time I've logged in, ever since they announced that, it hasn't asked me to log into PSN, which means I probably attached whatever PSN I don't remember that I have to it.
Like, all of this controversy aside, I linked my PlayStation with it when it launched. With Helldivers when it launched, because I thought it was like, oh, this is how we're doing crossplay. That's fine. And I was fine with that because it was clearly communicated at the time. It was like, hey, this is a thing that you can skip or you can link. So I did that. But then when it becomes mandatory and when it blocks 177 countries from playing the game, then I have a problem with it.
I was doing it because I thought maybe it would make it easier for people to find me so we could play together. I just want to play with more people. That's it. I just want to play with more people.
You're right. I think that's what I did. Was I probably attached it thinking that I want to play with people on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Because I already had a PSN account. I've never owned a PlayStation that requires a PSN, but I've set one up before, like on a PlayStation a while ago with my email address. So I'm like, I'll just sign into this one. Oh yeah, I forgot my password. Let's do that now.
If I'm gonna be,
God, I've forgotten my PlayStation password so many times.
Yeah. If I'm gonna be 100% transparent, I didn't use my PlayStation account. I used Felton's PlayStation account.
Don't know who that is.
Oh, Ike, where's Felton? Do you have him?
Oh, he's over in the corner over there.
Oh, he's sleeping.
Okay. He's in the corner. He's asleep right now. His eyes are open though, which is kind of weird.
Felton is Ike's puppet.
Got it.
Maybe we'll have Felton on for an episode sometime.
That would be really funny. He had a really popular Twitch channel for a while.
Yes, it was fairly popular.
And if we started it up, if he and I started it up again, we probably could get a lot of followers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a feud with who was the other? He had a feud with Arlo that one time. No, Arlo. Yeah, Arlo told you to leave.
We can have a blood feud between him and Ted.
Yes.
Him and Ted the Penguin.
I have to pee really bad. I'm going to turn my camera off and my mic off and go to the bathroom.
Well, let's just wrap this up how you usually wrap it up.
Okay. Podcast's over. Bye.